Wow. Hi, everybody. You came in much faster than I thought. Just as we were getting ready to start this live Q&A, I started coughing, so I grabbed a bit of water. But welcome. Here we are, Labor Day weekend in the United States. So those of you who are watching live, I thank you for pulling yourselves away from whatever things you were doing. Hopefully time with people you enjoy or pets you enjoy. I am here with my wonderful co-host today, Patty Hart. Hi, Patty.
Hi, everyone.
Excuse me. And we've just been chatting about how much we love interacting with all of you. And we took a moment to tune in to my guides, Sanaya, because they're the ones that do the answering of the questions. I'm their mouthpiece. I'll put my 2 cents in, but I know that all of us love to hear what Spirit has to share with us. And for those of you new to the podcast, I'm a retired Navy commander, aide to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, had command of a shore unit. So used to be very, very left brain. And after the death of my stepdaughter, learned how to communicate with higher consciousness. And so since 2010, when my guide Sanaya showed up, I've been communicating with them every day, get messages from them for all of you every day. We'll talk about that later. But my goal is to help everybody know that we can all learn to tune in. Patty, you came into this world also as a result of we do call it a loss in our human form. Do you want to give everybody the nutshell background on you?
Sure. So my 23-year-old daughter transitioned in 2020 on November 3rd. And for about 3.5 years was in a very dark place and didn't really feel connected to her. And then through an amazing number of synchronicities, was connected with Suzanne, and she gifted my husband and I a reading on our daughter's birthday at the end of April in 2024. And it changed everything. It taught us that Lauren never really left us. She's always here. And it happened pretty quickly that we went from having to believe to absolutely knowing that she is here. And it changed everything for us. It changed how we look at life, changed how we look at physical death. And it's been life-changing, transformative in every possible wonderful way.
And opened up a beautiful friendship with Patty and Dave and Ty and I. And Patty's now one of my assistants on my team. So it's just a win-win all around. And Lauren is definitely right here. And the beautiful thing is I teach people that we can all learn to connect. And Patty, you've connected with Lauren in beautiful ways. So it's not just through a medium, but personal experience.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Just through Suzanne, I learned about the sip of the divine and started meditating shortly after our reading. And it's helped me to connect with Lauren and to know that she's always with me. I just, I feel her all the time, and it's quite a gift.
Yeah, it is like the ultimate gift that we all can enjoy.
Yeah.
So let me see. There was one other thing I wanted to say about that. Oh, yes, that this program is not just for those of us who have loved ones across the veil. What we've learned through this connection with higher consciousness is that what I call the awakened way, we are not only human, we're all souls. And that's what makes soul-to-soul communication possible. When we're all just connected through all dimensions by this one big web, by love. So questions today from all of you. Patty's going to be taking them from the live chat. And she may have a list of questions that people have submitted earlier and we never got around to. But I'll just go till we just feel it's time to end the program. And we're answering questions about those across the veil, how to connect. We're at questions about the afterlife, the greater reality, higher consciousness, but I'm not doing live readings on the air. This is more about what questions apply to everyone here that can help us live the awakened way, which is why it's the Awakened Way podcast. So with that, I think we're ready to do some questions and give some answers.
Okay, I'm going to start with a really light one from Denise. She says, I have a question regarding birthdays across the veil. Tomorrow would have been my mom's 74th. Do you think they celebrate?
Oh my gosh. I know they celebrate all occasions here. Now, how do I know that? I know that because having done thousands of readings and connected with those across the veil, they give me evidence of how we have celebrated, or they tell me it's a birthday. I'll be doing a reading and I'll see an image of a birthday cake come up into my awareness. And then they do this little like right around now period, or they go like this, like right now. And I know that it's either their birthday or somebody here has a birthday. As far as things like weddings, they show what happened at the wedding and specific details that show they were there watching something that happened after they passed. So as far as celebrating our birthdays with us, count on it and bring them into it and know that they're thinking about you. They're closer than ever on these special dates.
And they like us to celebrate their birthdays. I remember in our reading, you told me that because we send balloons up for Lauren, and you said she takes them all and they don't pop up in heaven.
I did forget to mention, if you haven't seen the actual recording of the video of Patty and Dave's reading, it's on YouTube. Go after this video. It's called Actual Evidence of the Afterlife. It's an unedited reading, and you'll see the difference in Patty and Dave's demeanor before the reading and after the reading. It really was transformational.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. All right. This one I think is pretty interesting as far as the new workshop that's coming up. This question is from Jack, and Jack says, the word spirit is used often. Even though I have listened to you many times and saw you at the Villages with Wolf's Message documentary, I am not clear what spirit means to you. Is it God or the Holy Spirit or both or something else when you refer to the deeper sense of spirit?
Wow. Oh, that one's going to cause me to go deeper. And make a note there to talk about the documentary. Let's see. I'll go back here like this. So spirit to me, and this is the challenge, that words are so limiting and they have different meanings to all of us. So as I tune into my guides, they're right now imbuing you with the higher energy that brings us to the awareness that spirit is all that is. It's flowing through me now to have this conversation with you. It's enlivening you. It's breathing you. So is spirit source, God? Yes. Is spirit you? Yes. Is spirit in everything? Yes. So we can speak in spiritual terms and call it spirit. We could speak in scientific terms and call it consciousness. But when we call this awareness, which is more of a philosophical term for spirit, when we call it consciousness, that takes away the personal feel of it. That takes away the loving feel of that connection. So just understand that the words limit what is actually the basic essence and foundation of all that is. So sometimes I talk about a spirit person, and that's a non-physical being that is still sentient, creative, present, aware. And then I talk about spirit as the underlying essence of all that is. And so if we really wanted to delineate it as source or God, I'll just call it spirit with a capital S, but it's everything. So dive into that and just ask in your own meditation, what is spirit, and see how it comes up for you.
Yeah, I love that. That's perfect.
It's so Patty, you mentioned the documentary. That's one thing. I have some slides to show you all later of things coming up and things going on. And I forgot to put in there the Wolf's Message documentary. Oh, no, I didn't. You're right. I have some screenings coming up, but wolfsmessage.com is the documentary she's talking about. And the upcoming workshop, we'll talk about that as well.
This is kind of a fun one. And it's something, I guess, that I hadn't thought about. This is from Debbie. She says, what do we need from connecting to past loved ones if we already know they are fine?
What do we need if we already know they're fine?
So,
well, then I love that you feel you don't need anything, because that's what we want when we connect with the medium, is we want to know that they're still here. We want to know they're fine. Once you find that out, then it becomes a matter of doing what Patty and I do, and we have this ongoing connection with our loved ones. You know they're here, and it's just like, well, I think I'll pick up the phone and talk to them. Or, you know, if they were here in physical form, but not in your location, you pick up a phone and you text them or reach out and say, when can we get together? Well, it's the same thing once you know that they're here in awareness, here in spirit. and you can make an appointment and say, hey, tomorrow morning I'm going to do a lengthy meditation. Let's really have a great get together and let me really feel your presence. Or you simply just, as I'm sure Patty does and I do, just say, hey, Susan, or hey, Lauren, just thinking of you right now. Or do you have anything you want to share with me? What about you, Patty?
Well, I think it's interesting because that was a big thing that I desperately wanted to know Lauren was okay. It was a huge thing for me. And when I realized in that reading that she was in fact okay, and I was able to learn to meditate, it created a dialogue. So Lauren and I have a dialogue. And so I can talk to her when I'm walking, I can talk to, and I know there's that connection. So it's as if your relationship doesn't have to end when the physical body ends, and that's really cool to know that, not just with, your loved ones or with anybody. So I think that's,
it changes everything.
Yeah, it really does.
It doesn't take away the grief. That will come up in waves as it does, because our human thoughts go to the very human desire to touch them again. And when we realize we can't do that and we can't do certain things and have certain activities with them, no matter the relationship that we had before, we grieve that. And that's very normal. But that connection is still here. And to know that, and to get to the point where you can sense their responses to your conversation, the dialogue that Patty talked about, that's what we're talking about, changing everything.
Yeah.
Oh, I have, here it is. My latest book, Making the Afterlife Connection, shows how I learned to make that connection from not having ever even known the afterlife was real or seen spirits, not being a born medium, to now providing tools at the end of every chapter to help people get that connection themselves.
Yeah, it's a great book. Lots of good tools in there. Okay, well, this is a question, and it refers a little bit to meditation, so I think it's kind of a good segue. What advice do you have on focusing and setting an intention when beginning meditation, rather than your mind being busy and trying to go through all the things you want to work on?
Oh, perfect. Well, just the awareness that this is what the mind does will help you, but then realizing that you can't control the mind, you can't stop that from happening. You use that awareness to help you focus. And Patty mentioned my meditation called The Sip of the Divine. This is a 3-minute practice that is not about quieting the mind. It's about observing the mind. So for 3 minutes a day, here's the intention. That was the question. What intention do you set? I'm going to set the intention to observe the thoughts that come up, the sensations that arise, the feelings that I have, and just notice them and let them go. And let them go. And then what happens is you start to notice what stands out from your normal sensations, thoughts, and feelings. I call that's STF, sensations, thoughts, and feelings, the stuff that's constantly running around our minds. The more you practice that type of meditation where you're observing and letting it go, you're learning not to let your mind run away with you. You're learning to notice what thoughts are not helpful, and you're creating then space in between all that chatter, so that your loved ones can slip right in and let you sense their presence.
Yeah, I love that. It made me think about when you're having a conversation with somebody, and you learn. I was told that to be a good listener is a very good skill, because often we're thinking of what we're going to say next rather than really listening. So if you can kind of take that skill into meditation and listen, just let those words and those thoughts flow out, but actually then you can actually listen to what's coming in, and not be, thinking about what you're going to say next or what you want to say. So it might work for both things. Okay. And this kind of is a little bit similar. I have a hard time this is from Macon. I have a hard time visualizing, picturing light flowing, or creating a space to help me connect with my loved ones who have passed. Are there other ways that could be helpful?
I know there are, and I have to ask Sanaya for what those would be. So let me tune in here, because I know I have some friends who are not visually oriented. I am very visual. I can see that shaft of white light and create a beautiful place to meet someone. So, Sanaya just grabbed me and they said, create an experience. How does it feel when you are out in nature? They want you to ask yourself. How does it feel to be grateful? How does it feel to be connected to something beyond yourself? If everybody right now could just sit for a moment, close your eyes. You don't have to see anything. Just focus on your heart and your gut, on the feeling of being fullness, a beautiful love-filled fullness. Focus on gratitude and feel a surge in your heart. What are you grateful for right now? Generate that. They're saying this will go, you can open your eyes now, this will go a very long way to expanding your awareness, so that when then those in spirit give you a feeling or an insight, you don't need the sight. I was just making a slide for the workshop that's coming up October 4th, and it's sharing a phrase that spirit gave me in a really magical moment, that when they said, you believe that seeing is believing, but knowing is the truest form of seeing. So what does that mean? You know, if you think that you have to see that shaft of white light, or you have to create that cabin in the woods to meet your loved one, then you're going to cut yourself off from a greater experience of just through the feeling of presence and fullness and love, knowing your loved one is right here. You don't need to see them for that.
Yeah. That just makes me happy. Because I remember saying to somebody, I know Lauren is here. And they said, you don't really know. And I said, oh, I know. When you know, you know.
You know. This
Yes.
might be a good time for me. I've mentioned this workshop twice. I just announced it in an email last week. It's called the Forgotten Center. I've gone through a pretty rough month of dealing with some physical issues. Still have a little bit of it going on, but I really use that time to talk to spirit and say, what's going on here? What am I missing? And they showed me that about a year ago, I was given a tool for going deeper in our connection with spirit. I was given this same tool that helps us really trust and anchor in the connection and really know it's not your imagination. Get to that knowing. And I used it in a reading, and the reading was off the charts. I got like 6, 7 bizarre names that related to this person, their loved ones in spirit, and names have not always been that solid for me. And I went, wow, this really works. But the problem was, at the time, I didn't understand why it worked. I didn't understand how important it was. And so spirit had to get my attention in a big way. And they did that with this series of events that I've shared with my earthly team here, that left all of us just shaking our heads at how spirit brought me back around to this, what we're calling the Forgotten Center, but now with tools and practices to actually integrate it and understand why it works. I'm not revealing what the Forgotten Center is, because I don't want all of you to do like I did and just understand it at a surface level. One person said, I think, Patty, you fielded the email from him saying, well, if it's so important, if it's such a game changer, why aren't you doing the workshop this weekend? Because ask my husband, I am spending hours putting together slides and diagrams and practices and practicing the meditations, so that when we do this all-day workshop on October 4th, you all get it. I'm using it in my readings now, and it's just phenomenal, but I want to make sure I don't go back to my old way of being. And the thing is, it doesn't detract from anything I've taught in the past. It adds to it. So everything we've been teaching is great, but this is just taking things to a new level. So when I say it's a game changer, Patty, you know it is, because now I shared it with my team. But the workshop's called The Forgotten Center, Deepening Your Connection with Spirit. I really encourage you to sign up. It's a live online workshop on October 4th. We tried to set the hours so it helps people around the world. If you can't join us live, you will get the recording. Just go to my website, right on the homepage, scroll down under the banner, and you'll see one of the thumbnails, live online workshop, The Forgotten Center. Kept the price really reasonable for an all-day workshop. And we're doing a fundraiser. We have already raised $10,000 for care camps, these camps for kids with cancer and their families, so that they can go for free and get a break from all the medical issues. I know that's near and dear to your heart, Patty. So please check out the Forgotten Center. It is going to be on Zoom. Yes, it is. Okay. More about that later. Okay.
Well, there's a question actually that's regarding mediumship. This is from Sarah. If you are newer to mediumship, how do you learn to trust the link? Any advice for people newly exploring intuitive communication?
That's so funny, because it's like, yeah, I have always given the answer that I'm going to give now. But just yesterday, I was working on the actual exercise and practice that's going to be in that workshop. And it's going to take a good chunk of time during that day-long workshop. So I can't answer it now. But it all has to do with feeling the difference between something that's just kind of airy and you're not quite sure versus just a really solid knowing. It gets back to what we were talking about before. Like Patty said, she knows this is Lauren, but somebody else who hasn't had that actual sensation and feeling that comes from being an embodied soul, fully embodied. This is part of the workshop as well. And we're going to talk about what that is. They don't realize how strong that knowing can be. Mm-hmm. So until you get that, and we will do the actual visceral, palpable experience it for yourself experience, you just notice, does this stand out from what I normally experience? What feeling comes with it? Is it novel? Is it unique? Why am I having this experience? And then you can ask for a sign to validate it from your loved ones. Follow it up with a sign. So yeah, we could go on and on and on about that.
And there's going to be a lot more in the workshop. So, okay. So this question is Christina in South Australia. She says, did God create human beings so that God could experience and expand through our emotions?
Well, see, this gets back to language again, doesn't it? Let me get so God could experience our emotions and what was the other part of that?
Our emotions and expand through, could experience and expand through our emotions.
Okay. Well, if God is all that is, God doesn't need to expand at all, because it is all that's in potential and all that will ever be. So this is where the language, when we see God as one being, limits us. So we can go back to the question at the beginning and see God as, instead of a being, pure awareness, pure essence and flow and total connection. That's love. And so I feel that rather than saying this one being created something separate from itself, that an aspect of this pure potential arose within that being and expresses itself. So it's not separate. This awareness that we arise within the very source that breathes us, changes everything. It's just this very subtle but sometimes profound shift in awareness. And so if we are here to be the experience of this or that, then do it fully for the process of bringing more love, which is our higher self, the total connection, into the equation. So a little bit of a lofty answer to that one, but that God created something separate from itself keeps us away from the awareness that we arise within this field of love.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. That was perfect. Okay, this is a fun one, and you've probably had this before. This is from Amanda. What about if you just dream about your loved ones and they talk to you in the dream state from the other side? Is that the same thing for connection?
Oh, once again, this goes back to, oh my gosh, that was a dream visit. I know it. Versus, oh, I dreamed about my loved one last night. Because they are your loved ones. Everybody in your soul family is part of your field as just like here. Okay, great. Sanaya just said, use the song analogy. So if you think about the fact that you're here to play your own ringtone, your own song, to sing your soul song, and your loved ones do the same, you have spent however much time you were together, singing together in harmony, sometimes not so harmonious. You recognize their song, and that song comes through as sensations, thoughts, and feelings that you experience. So they will always be resonating in your field forever. You'll hear their note, you'll sense their presence. In a dream, that song may just come up because it's part of who you are, because of their memories and their presence was so embedded in your field. But in an actual dream visit, they come in and sing a duet with you. If you use the song analogy, I love that. And so you remember this, it's much stronger. I know I saw you, Patty, the way you were nodding and saying like, yeah, I've had those dream visits. And that's when you wake up and you say to whoever's the next person you see that day, oh my gosh, I had a visit, because it's so solid and it stays with you, other than the wispy notes that just flow away. The other thing that's very important to know is actual dream visits are not scary or frightening. Right? Our own dreams get a little bit off key, using the analogy again. And so don't worry about those. That's just processing memories and stuff that needs to be released. But an actual visit, they come to encourage us, inspire us, and absolutely to let us know that they're still around.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, this is one that I haven't heard before. This is from Lisa. There are a couple of folks in my family who have passed who I really do not want to run into again. How can I stay open to the spirit world despite my fear of them?
This is such a beautiful question. I'm glad that you asked it, Patty, because I have received it a lot, but I want to make sure that I get the answer fresh. Whew. And Spirit says, first of all, know that you attract to yourself what you need to process. That does not mean that you're going to attract those people to you when you cross. It means that right now is a very beautiful opportunity to say, why am I afraid of seeing them? Most likely because they harmed you here, or you had a contentious relationship that you don't wish to continue on with. But what do we learn from mediumship? That we're souls. And what did we learn the moment we crossed the veil? Oh my gosh, I might not have realized I was a soul. And I did some very human things while I was back there in a body. And so we have what is called the life review. When we cross the veil, we see and experience the effects of our choices and words, our actions on other people. And that's why those across the veil want very much to come through in a reading and give apologies, to ask for forgiveness, to say thank you. And it's also what they want to do very much when you cross the veil. So unless someone has simply not learned their lessons through the life review and is still being helped by their guides to repattern their thoughts and repattern their energy, any reunion you have with a loved one is going to be filled with love and apologies and forgiveness. So the advice we have here is work on that in yourself now. Go through a life review as if you had died. How could you see the situation with your loved ones differently? How would you react differently to those situations if you knew that you were souls interacting as humans? That changes everything. But you're not going to be given a situation across the veil that will hurt or harm you. So in many cases, until you adjust across the veil, which happens pretty quickly to most people, that reunion may hold off until you have that realization, oh my gosh, we were souls playing roles. But see, this is the beauty of mediumship. It shows us right now. This is a soul playing a role of Suzanne, and you are a soul playing the role with your name in it. Well, how does that change things if you see each other beyond the only human viewpoint?
Yeah.
Changes everything.
It changes perspective for sure. If you're the way you live your life, because you know that this is we're all connected, we're all souls, and eventually you're going to see how your actions and how you treat people made them feel. So why not change that now if there's something that you can do better? I love that. That's awesome.
And if I could add to that, Patty, that's the beauty of mediumship also, that the more we work on our own human behaviors that are limiting, that are not harmonious, that are acting from a place of separation, we clear out the dense energy in us and our connection with higher consciousness gets better, which is why anytime I catch myself saying something snarky to my husband. I say, wow, to myself, where did that come from? Or yesterday he was expressing some opinions that I didn't agree with. And I really had to work through that without speaking right away. I had to process that and say, now, how does my soul see this? How would my soul respond? Because my human side wants to go like this, and that is not going to help this situation. So being able to make that shift back and forth from soul and human is super helpful for relationships, both here and across the veil.
Oh, for sure. Yep. Okay, here's one that might be, your answer might be helpful to some who were kind of in my place for those few years after Lauren passed. This is from Janice, and she said, for those of us that are still struggling with sadness years after our loved ones have crossed, even though we know we will see them, is it possible this is a part of our soul plan balancing of karma?
I'm not an expert on karma at all. And okay, great. Yeah. The guides say, focus on this lifetime and what you're dealing with now. If it helps you to say, perhaps that was an issue in another lifetime that I chose to work on now, then see it that way. But right now, if you realize that you have an issue, let's ask spirit to help us work on it. That was the first answer. Now I've completely forgotten what the question is. Did we sign up for this, for the grief? Is it pretty much like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Oh, the guide said, you all signed up for the human life with its ups and downs, and every life includes loss and adjustment to that. And there is no one path. So please don't beat yourself up for however long it's taking you to come around and realize that when you can bring in the soul awareness and realize that, oh, okay, that life has its bumps, and flow with that, that will make the journey easier. They wanted me to share my mountain bike story, which you've probably heard that one, Patty, right? Yeah, I had done a workshop and I was really tired, and all I wanted to do was just relax. And my guide said, get out on a nice flowy mountain bike trail with your husband. Just enjoy being out in nature in the trees. So that sounded good. So we're out, and in mountain bike terms, we were on this buttery trail, lots of just pine needles, curvy, flowy. It was fun till all of a sudden it came to this moderately technical, they call it in mountain bike lingo, trail with rocks and roots. And I'm starting to get bumped around. And then all of a sudden it gets more bumpy, and I started to get irritable because I was still really tired. And I got really crabby. And in my head, I said, this is supposed to be relaxing and fun. And I heard this loud voice, this booming godlike voice say, it's a mountain bike trail, for God's sake. And I started laughing out loud. Because, they're right. I went out on a trail and I expected it. I wanted it to be smooth and flowy and just what I needed. But it was a mountain bike trail. And the lesson is so clear. This is life. And it's not always smooth and buttery and flowy. It has its rocks and roots, and they come up just when you don't expect them. They can knock you off your bike. You can take what we call a header, go over to handlebars, and just totally knock the air out of you. And however long it takes you to recover, that's up to you, and not always up to you, because the body heals itself. So all of this is a process. But to think that I think here in the United States, it's our inalienable right to happiness, right? That makes us feel that we have to be happy. But as souls, we actually came here for the fullness, which includes the grief. From the pain that I've suffered, this physical pain this last month, wow, I still have some. But when I'm not in pain, boy, do I appreciate that more now. I know you can relate to that, Patty.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep, it's life-changing.
Let me take a minute. This is a good time. I made some slides because I don't want y'all to miss some of the cool things coming up here. If we don't get to your questions today, I hope you know about this already. We have a new feature both on my website and on my Awaken Way app. It's called your questions answered. We have a virtual librarian. We're calling her Grace, where we've put in the full repository of all of Sanaya's teachings, all of my teachings, and that's what it accesses. It's not like a bot that goes out to the whole internet. This will answer your questions just like Sanaya and I would answer. And it's also on my Awaken Way app, which I think, yeah, that's the next slide. We've just added it to the app. See the little bursts here, several new events on the app. If you pull down the menu, I know that there are 65,000 of you out there who use the app daily to get the daily messages from Spirit. We now have upcoming events. So that Forgotten Center workshop, you can find a link right on the app under events and look down here. Ask for guidance now. And then your question's answered. Oh, I think, let me put my glasses on. Yeah. So ask for guidance now is the inspire button. Your question's answered. We actually went viral with that, didn't we, Patty?
Oh,
the
yeah.
people that helped us develop Grace's capabilities put out a newsletter, and they said Suzanne Giesemann's virtual librarian went viral because it's had more questions from all of you than any of the other services out there. Hey, getting back to our announcements. Thanks for sticking with me here. I have my next monthly webinar, September 9th, and I'm going to be sharing with you an off-the-charts spiritually transformative experience that I had that all of us can benefit from. I had it with my dear friend Annie Bond sitting at a vortex. She and I had the same experience of divine beings with messages for us. So that's just one thing I'll be sharing and how we can all benefit from that, and lots of other tools if you join us for that monthly webinar. Wolf's Message, the tour continues, although I will tell you all right now, let me come back to the screen. Because of my back issues, we are not continuing the tour by bus. I've been told not to sit so much for hours on end. 8,000 miles of the tour so far kind of did me in. So I'm going to be flying to the events in Phoenix, October 21st, Tucson, October. Oh, I have the wrong dates there. Yep, I think it's 17th for Phoenix. You can find out at wolfsmessage.com. And then Dallas, Fort Worth. I'll be live at these 3 events, but Ty won't be able to join me because he will be babysitting the puppies at home. But good news for Phoenix and Tucson, Wolf's dad, Mike Passacarnis, will be joining me for those screenings and discussions of the film. So if you're anywhere near, you can join us for that. I did mention my latest book, Making the Afterlife Connection. All the things we're talking about here, you can get these answers yourself. Yeah, you can ask Grace, you can ask me and Sanaya, but learn to ask those questions yourself. And if you're enjoying this podcast and you haven't already subscribed, now's a great time to click the subscribe button so you get notified when we do new videos. Do I have any more? Here's the thumbnail you can look for that all-day workshop I'm doing live October 4th, Saturday. The time is 11 a.m. Eastern to 5. I'll be in Pacific time, so I actually have to start at 8 a.m. Yeah, 8 a.m. We'll take a break for lunch, but look for that thumbnail there, Unlocking Deeper Connection with Spirit. It really is a game changer. I cannot tell you how excited I am to share this brand new material. And what really is so exciting for me is that I know Spirit had to get my attention. They got it in a big way, but I really haven't found any other mediums teaching this. And I've been teaching for a long time. I've been working with a lot of mediums. Some people touch on it, but not in the way we're going to really dive in. So very, very exciting. Anything else besides the Forgotten Center before we go on to your questions? Nope, that's it. Okay, so we will put in the show links a link to those events later, but for now, you're going to have to find it on your own. All right, thanks for waiting, Patty. More questions.
Yes. So this is one from Macon. She says, if my guides identify themselves as someone historically alive, does their previous identity in life have some significance to their guidance for my life now?
Well, if they showed up, there's absolutely significance in that. And I love that you brought this up, Macon, because we definitely can connect with historical beings. And so remember the 3 E's of the Awakened Way. Educate yourself, like with videos like this and reading the books and listening to NDEs. Then experience for yourself in meditation. Patty's mouthing she knows the 3 E's. And the last one is, Patty?
Engage.
Engage. I'm gonna put you on the spot, but you get an A. Engage. So if this historical figure shows up, what do? You say, why have you come to me now? And what do you have to share with me? And here's a really, really important point that makes it fun. What can you tell me about yourself that I don't know, that I can look up and Google later? So be open and believe that you can do this, and just simply listen and watch and feel them. You know in your gut this is them. So trust and write it down. And when you get a validation of something, now you've really expanded your field, and that may happen again. And you're right, making these historical figures come to us if it serves the greater good, not just your ego. Hey, I connected with whoever. I tried an experiment to see if Albert Einstein would come to me. And boy, did I sense him with his accent, with his personality, which I didn't expect was so layered. And he gave me a whole list of things that I didn't know. I've shared that publicly in the past. But my favorite moment, I don't know if I shared this with you, Patty, was when I was sitting in Dr. Gary Schwartz's Laboratory for Human Consciousness at the University of Arizona. And his wife, Rhonda, who is a medium, was sitting off to the side. She sees spirits, and they've been working with Albert Einstein. But I was sitting there, and I normally don't see spirits, but I absolutely knew without seeing that Albert Einstein was sitting in a chair across the room. Now, if you're new to this podcast and you're new to my work, right now is when we call it the deflector shields go up, right? Like a BS shield belief system. Like, right, Albert Einstein was sitting in the laboratory with you. Well, I've learned to put them to the test, the spirits, even though I knew he was there. So first I looked at Rhonda and I said, Rhonda, do you see who's sitting in the chair over there? I didn't say it out loud. She said, oh yeah, it's Albert. He's been here all morning. That's just a little check, but that's not evidence. So I silently said to him, even though I only had a sense of him being there, I couldn't see him. I said, Albert Einstein, tell me something I don't know. And I sensed him pointing at this blue sombrero that was hanging on the wall in the laboratory. And he said, they bought that at the market in Tombstone, Arizona. And so now I can validate this instantly. I turned and I said, Rhonda, where did you get that hat? And she said, oh, Gary and I found it at this really cool market in Tombstone.
Of course.
So this is self-science. Yes, it is. But when matched with that knowing, it's magical. It's wondrous. And it's not magic. Yeah, Spirit says, don't forget us over here. Sanaya says, it's not magic. It's when two souls sing together and they resonate. And Albert Einstein was singing a song that Rhonda and I and he could sing together. We came into tune together. We were in harmony, and it resulted in this beautiful piece of evidence. So when you sense a historical figure, just like your loved ones, engage them and ask for something you don't know that you can validate if you need it. I'm sure, Patty, you don't put Lauren to the test all the time.
No, she's pretty good. I don't have to, but yeah, no. Yeah. Just trust. Okay, a little lighter one here. Sorry. Will the heavenly spirit miss worldly small pleasures like good food and all materialistic things on earth?
Oh, what a great question. I don't know where. I think on the gifts page on my website, if you scroll down, there's an ebook about the afterlife. And at the very end of it, oh, yeah, there's also a video on YouTube. We'll have to put a link. The Afterlife Explained. Yeah. Oh. The Sanaya gave a beautiful dissertation on what the afterlife is like. And they say that if you always loved berry pies, you will eat berry pies until you no longer want to eat berry pies without blowing up like a big berry pie, is what they said. So, and I often think about that. Like last night, Ty made the most fabulous veal marsala, and he gave this big serving. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so much. And I ate the whole thing. It was so good. And I didn't feel bad about it afterwards, but I thought, that's one challenge with these human bodies. We're given the pleasure of good food, but we can't enjoy it indefinitely or infinitely or whatever. But across the veil, yes, you can. But there comes a time when you realize that the physical pleasures are not what it's all about. And so here we're in this human body as souls, fully embody for the experience and the pleasure and the physical sensations. And we'll take a bit of that desire with us across the veil. But the more you then just come into full awareness that I am love, then that desire to eat goes away. And the guides just said, and is that not exactly what happens here? When you have cravings for certain drinks or pills or foods, it's because you feel that something's missing.
Mm.
And when you fully embody the awareness of I am love and expression, you don't need anything.
Mm.
That's when you can eat a piece of chocolate for the sheer enjoyment of it, but not the need. Wow.
And I think often when we tell ourselves no to something, you want it so much more and you're consumed by thoughts of it. But if you had a donut every single day for a month, you really wouldn't think about donuts so much, you know, because it's like, it's not that interesting. Somebody told me one time, because I loved ice cream and I always liked having a double scoop. And they said, well, you know, you could have it more often if you just had one scoop. And I thought, and I would enjoy it just as much. I thought, okay, what a novel idea. So yeah, makes
Love
sense.
that. Love that. By the way, that kind of teaching right there, very practical, down to earth, that's the kind of thing that we do in the monthly connection webinars. We spend the first half hour getting really cool evidence from the latest connections I've had with spirit. And then a lot of practical tools, some meditations, and every month a healing meditation and channeling from Sanaya. So hope you can join us September 9th. If you're not watching this live and you missed the workshop or the channeling, those are always available afterwards in the archives.
Perfect. Okay, here is a question from Linda. Do our egos continue with us when we cross over?
That depends on how you define ego, right? And there are different definitions of that. So for me, as I define ego as the operating system here in human form that sometimes can run amok and become totally focused on the story and the role of who I believe I am versus knowing I'm a soul. When that runs amok, that part doesn't go with us beyond the veil. As we mentioned earlier, those initial moments beyond time, when you cross the veil, you still are very much aware of your story. But as you become aware that you're a soul, the story now serves you, but you don't have to have it. So you drop away the human desires that go with ego.
Like that. Okay, this one is a little deeper, but I think it's a really interesting question. In the Netherlands, this is from Kamalani. In the Netherlands, people with terminal illness or intense unbearable pain are given the choice of euthanasia. Animals frequently are euthanized to end suffering or for less altruistic reasons or to increase food supply. Here is my question. In many perspectives, religious and otherwise, the perpetrators of the act of killing another sentient being are often viewed as murderers because they prevent the soul from fulfilling its life's lessons or karmic debt. How does Sanaya view this?
That is a deep one. And Sanaya, right. They rarely speak in black or white. They're not going to give you a yes or no answer that this is right or this is wrong. They're saying that such moral and ethical questions provide the human side of you the opportunity to truly tune into the heart and to know what is the best move for the soul. To alleviate suffering is a very human reaction, and the soul knows that suffering is temporary and leads to growth, but excessive suffering is not always necessary. So this is, oh, right. That's why they say we will never advise you whether to marry a certain person, whether to take a certain job, because these human choices are how you learn. And it's what you as a soul came here to do. So to label somebody a murderer, they said, is to automatically assign a decision that is bad or good, When spirit doesn't label things bad or good, does it aid the evolution of the soul? Does it bring more love into this world? That's always the question. So they're going back, they're shouting at me now, motive. What is the motive in alleviating suffering? So you live by your choices, you grow by your choices is how they end that one. And it's not satisfying to us to not get an answer. We want to know so we can go out and follow the rules and say, this is how it is. But that's not how the soul sees it. This is a flow and a growth. And sometimes we go backwards and then we go forwards again.
Yeah, it's a great answer for a tough question.
Yeah.
Okay. Here is one from Eileen. Do our loved ones in spirit have free will?
As much as you have here, the guides say, as much as we have here, but there is more awareness when fully attuned to the soul of why we are making choices, why we are using our will, much more aligned with love. Yeah. So when we can make our choices here and use our free will to bring connection, to bring love, to find compromises that help us come together, that's the best use of free will. And it's much more obvious what the choices are, what the most optimum choices are when you're aligned with the soul, which happens more across the veil. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. All right. This one is regarding reincarnation from Irene. And I think this is interesting because you shared a little something about astrology with the team recently. When we reincarnate, do we bring with us the same personality and values? Also, does astrology really determine our personalities in different lifetimes, depending on the time we were born and the alignment of the stars and planets?
Okay. Some of you may see the little lip twitch that I get here because of my human side is saying, I don't really know a lot about astrology and I'm not really big on incarnation. And the guides say, yeah, but we'll help you with that one. I wrote down as you were writing astrology because I want to talk about my astrology reading that I had that you were referring to, just to lighten things up a bit here. But I love the description of reincarnation as if your over soul, that is the one that lives the different lives, you as a soul having this life here, decides what traits and characteristics you're going to work on here. And so the soul has actually chosen this personality. And yes, the planets do align to allow those types of personalities to be exercised more, the guides say, through certain circumstances that you will get into. So you will take into another lifetime whatever the soul decides it didn't work on to completion or would like to enjoy more in the next incarnation. So it's like a deck of cards and you're playing the hand you were dealt and chose for this lifetime. But maybe I want a little bit more of the Joker in this in this lifetime. I'm going to bring that card with me again, and the ace, I'm going to bring that, and maybe some 2s and 4s. And so you take certain traits from lifetime to lifetime, and other cards you don't need to play anymore. So I hope that analogy helps. The other question about astrology, the guides say that there is, give much credence to the planetary influences and how they play out in your life. I had the gift of meeting a fantastic astrologer, Rick Levine. His middle name is Merlin, Rick Merlin Levine. He's a character. Boy, is he knowledgeable about astrology. We had lunch together when I was in Washington State on tour just this last month. And he read my chart for me just the other day. And I said to my team of earthly helpers, okay, guys, I can't help myself. I'm a fire sign with a moon in the fire sign, whatever that means. I may have gotten it wrong, but it's fire and fire. And I apologized to everybody, didn't I, Patty? Because I said, I can't help it. I'm fiery. We're get her done. It's action oriented, excitement, enthusiasm, passion. And I want to share the new term. I'm going to make it public now, Patty. The one that Beth came up with, but to end on a light note. But then he does, Rick in his astrology does this unusual way of looking at the planets in sevens. And he said all the planets that have to do with non-physical communication are all aligned profoundly in your chart. He said you went from this military career to your work now as a medium and spiritual teacher. And he said you could have had 3 or 4 careers and you would have ended up doing this because it's in your chart. So that to me just gives beautiful credence to the fact that whatever you all are doing, even if it's not what your soul came here to do, you're going to be nudged that way by the energies and by your guides. So, Patty, I think we'll end with the funny term that Bev made up, just to end on a happy note here. Y'all can feel my passion for this work and for life. I've always been this way, so much so that with the name Suzanne, I was called by my parents when we were little Suzy, S-U-Z-Y. And my parents always called this my enthusiasm, right? So everybody on my team knows that this is enthusiasm. Now they know it's the fire and fire sign, that I have to be this way. But poor Bev, I came back from our tour a week ago and I said, Bev, I have to do a new workshop. I have this game-changing information and we need to do it soon. I cannot sit on this. I need to share this information. I was going to share it in December, but I've got to get it out. Let's give me a month, but I need a landing page. I need this and that. And oh, by the way, we're going to be announcing our cruise to the Mediterranean next week. And Bev, can you handle all of that? And she coined a new term. It's a tsunami. It's perfect. Yeah, T-S-U-Z-A-M-I, like a tsunami. This wave of enthusiasm bowled over Bev, and she rose to the challenge and got the announcement out there about the workshop. And poor Ty, now my head is in my computer hours a day just getting it together because I'm so excited, but I can't not do it. So for all of you, to bring this back around to you, because we're all part of this web or you wouldn't be here watching right now. What is your passion? That's my favorite question, Patty, when I meet new people. Instead of what do you do? What do you do? Well, I do this or that. What's your passion? It is the greatest conversation starter, everybody.
Yeah.
And it shows our interest in them. And like Patty said, listen to their answer without filling in the blank and wanting to share yours right after that, right? Yeah.
That's a big one.
If you're living your passion, then you're aligned with your soul's song. And if you're having trouble finding passion in life, then that's your soul saying, come on now, let's help you get back in alignment with who you truly are, because your soul knows what you came here to do. Your soul knows what song you came here to sing. If you're going through grief, ride those waves. It'll swamp you for a while. Patty knows what that's like. I know what that's like. But you get back on that surfboard.
You said that in our reading, it was super profound to me, and that stuck with me, that these feelings, that they will come and you will feel them, and then they will pass, and then you will feel joy and other things. So if you allow yourself to feel them and not push them down, they're going to move on and there will be other feelings. So just trusting that and having that faith and allowing yourself the space to feel what you need to feel. It's important.
Beautiful. I hope all of you have felt the love from us to you. I know that's why so many of you come out and join us on a Sunday. If you're not joining us live, that love is still here. Anytime I'm working with my guides, they're sending that extra energy to us. I hope you can feel that. Last week, we did a healing meditation on the podcast. I sobbed. I'm going to talk about that in the workshop. It helped me heal myself. Lynette, my assistant, said that's some crazy stuff when you're healed by your own healing meditation. But feel the energy, guys. And we also put a channeling session from Sanaya. Anytime that energy is coming through, we're all soaking it up, and that just helps us come more into tune with spirit. Patty, thank you. What a lovely co-host you were today.
You were amazing. Your answers were amazing. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in and spending this hour with us. It's been great.
What a way to start the day.
Yes.
And thank you, everybody. We love you all so much. So grateful for you being on this journey with us. Hope to see you back here next time. Go out and just love each other to pieces.